I want you to picture something with me for just a second here.
Okay, yeah, paint the picture.
So imagine you're standing in front of this like really old weathered barn.
Right.
We're out on the rural stretches of Oregon. It's totally quiet, maybe a little damp. The air just smells like dust, old
Oh,
timber.
I can completely picture that. Very rustic.
Exactly. But then you pull open those heavy wooden doors and the sunlight cuts through the dark and it reveals this massive, overwhelmingly colorful, practically vibrating time capsule.
Just sitting right there in the shadows.
Yeah, sitting right there, totally hidden since 1969.
Which is just such a wild visual to start us off with, right? Because you open a barn like that and you expect, I don't know, a tractor.
Right, or some rusted farming equipment or something.
Exactly. And instead you find this literal masterpiece of psychedelic history just waiting to be woken up.
It really is. And we should probably establish right off the bat, our mission for this deep dive isn't to just throw around some dusty piece of trivia, right?
No, definitely not.
We're looking at a deeply important artifact. The original 1939 Harvester bus, notoriously known as Further. And, we're keeping things clear today. No heavy jargon, just diving right into the facts.
Yeah, because the story of this bus emerging from that barn, it's really a story about the weight of legacy.
Oh, totally.
It's about inheriting this massive ideology and making the deliberate choice of what to actually do with it when the world has changed so drastically.
And that choice, it falls entirely on Zane Kesey.
Right, Ken Kesey's son.
Right, so he's pulling his father's legendary vehicle out of the dark, not just to, show it off at a car show, but to use it as a direct intervention.
An intervention against all the isolation he sees in society today. It's really powerful.
It is. But to really grasp the gravity of what Zane is doing,
Yeah.
we got to understand what this artifact actually is, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's been called the Rosetta Stone of the San Francisco counterculture.
Which is such a massive title for a bus,
Mhm.
especially because a 1939 Harvester, it wasn't built to be a cultural Rosetta Stone.
No, not at all.
It was literally just built to move people from point A to point B.
Right, which is why the physical modifications that Ken Kesey made to it back in the 1960s are so vital to understand here.
Yeah, talk about those for a second.
Well, he didn't just give it this, wild psychedelic paint job, though obviously he did that too.
Right, the neon colors are iconic.
They are, but he fundamentally mutated the architecture of the vehicle itself.
They actually changed the structure.
He did. He cut a huge hole in the roof to create a sunroof, and then he built a literal balcony on top of it.
A balcony on a moving bus? That is just insane.
I know, right? And then on top of that, he installed this massive outward-facing sound system.
Oh, wow. So it's projecting outward.
Exactly. And by doing that, he completely inverted the very purpose of what a bus is supposed to be.
That is a really fascinating way to look at it. Because, a bus is basically designed to contain people, right?
Right, to keep them safe inside.
Yeah, to isolate them from the elements and from the actual environment they're driving to.
Yeah.
You get on, you sit quietly, you just look out the window.
Precisely. You're just a passive observer. But by building that balcony on the roof and wiring the whole thing with heavy amplification, Ken Kesey turned the vehicle inside out.
It wasn't a container anymore.
Nope, it was a stage. It forced interaction with the outside world.
So when he and his group of friends, the Merry Pranksters.
Yeah, the Merry Pranksters.
Right. So when they took this bus on their famous cross-country journey, they weren't just passively traveling, they were projecting themselves.
They were broadcasting a whole lifestyle. They were smoking weed, taking LSD, and spreading this very specific ethos about opening your mind and just loving each other.
Which Tom Wolfe famously wrote about, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Immortalized in the electric Kool-Aid acid test. They transformed a standard mode of transit into a mobile broadcasting station for a new culture.
It really makes me think about how we spread ideas today,
Oh yeah, the contrast is wild.
If you want to disrupt the cultural status quo right now, what do? You launch a digital campaign?
Right, you make a TikTok or something.
Exactly. You hijack an algorithm, you create a meme, you basically try to get millions of eyeballs on a screen to force a conversation.
But in the mid-1960s, you just couldn't do that.
You couldn't. The infrastructure for that kind of instant viral disruption simply didn't exist.
So they had to build a physical one.
Right. They built a rolling physical algorithm, this neon booming magnet that just forced entire towns to stop what they were doing and pay attention.
I think that's a perfect analogy. And just to clarify for everyone listening, we aren't talking about a replica here.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, because there was a replica made in the 1990s, but the one we are talking about today, the one in the barn, this is the original, authentic artifact,
The real deal.
the real deal. And that physical disruption you mentioned is exactly why it matters so much.
Right, because it wasn't just representing a movement.
No, it was actively driving a new culture into existence. I mean, the sheer audacity of this brightly colored, musically booming bus traversing the very buttoned-up American landscape of the 1960s.
Oh, I can only imagine the looks they got.
It cannot be overstated. It demanded a reaction. It was a loud, unavoidable public declaration that a completely new way of living was possible.
Which, honestly, makes the silence that followed even more profound.
It really does.
You have this massive, deafening cultural moment, this rolling earthquake, basically.
Yeah.
And then the bus just stops.
It just parks.
Yeah. By 1969, the landscape of America had changed so much. The 60s were basically ending. And Further was just parked in that barn on the Kesey family farm in Oregon.
It literally just sat there.
For nearly 60 years. Completely hidden from the public eye.
The contrast between its life on the road and its decades in that barn is just striking.
It really is.
I mean, it goes from being arguably the most visible object in the countercultural world to a complete ghost.
Gathering dust.
Yeah. And in that time, Ken Kesey passes away. So the artifact and all this immense historical weight attached to it, it all falls to his son, Zane, who is now 65 years old.
And see, that transition of ownership is where I think this story moves from being just a cool piece of history into something way more psychological.
Oh, definitely. The burden of that legacy.
Because inheriting a deeply historical, culturally massive object from a famous parent, that is an incredibly heavy burden.
It's massive.
Right. Like the easiest thing in the world for Zane to do would be absolutely nothing.
Just leave the barn doors closed.
Exactly. Let the bus rot right into the earth and become a pure myth. Or, at best, quietly donate it to some museum.
Where it sits behind velvet ropes in a climate-controlled room.
Right, where no one can really interact with it. But Zane is making this super active choice to pull it out into the light.
And his reasoning for doing so is so firmly rooted in the present moment.
Yeah, let's talk about the why.
Well, Zane looks at the current state of the country, and he describes it in really stark terms. He calls it dim and dark and depressing.
Wow. Dim and dark.
Yeah, he points to all this intense polarization, the anger, and just the profound, widespread loneliness that characterizes so much of modern American life right now.
Which I think a lot of people listening can probably relate to, sadly.
Exactly. And so when he looks at that reality and then he looks at his father's dusty old bus, he doesn't just see a family heirloom.
He sees a tool.
Yes. He views the bus as this concentrated symbol of joy and color and community.
So he's looking at an 85-year-old rusty vehicle and seeing an actual antidote.
He really is.
I mean, it takes a certain kind of vision to look at a deeply divided, highly digital society and decide that what people really need right now is a physical encounter with a psychedelic relic from the 60s.
Right. Isn't Zane basically doing exactly what his dad did?
How do you mean?
Well, he's deploying this bus as an active intervention, like a medicine for a polarized society.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
That is the absolute core of Zane's decision. He is creating culture today by weaponizing his father's legacy against modern loneliness.
Weaponizing legacy. I love that phrasing.
Because, preserving history is so often framed as a totally passive act, like we were saying, putting something in a glass case just so we don't forget it.
Right, treating it like a dead thing.
Exactly. But Zane is treating this legacy as an active force. He recognizes that preserving history is sometimes about recognizing when the present moment desperately needs the lessons of the past.
It's just so powerful. By bringing the bus back out, he's trying to recreate that exact culture of community that it originally stood for.
He's following through on his father's mission.
Yeah, following through, but adapting it for a totally different era with very different emotional stakes.
Right. But, deploying a symbol of the 1960s into 2020's San Francisco, it isn't just a philosophical endeavor.
Oh, no. Logistically, it's a nightmare. Right.
A massive mechanical nightmare. I mean, you can't just walk into a damp Oregon barn, turn the key on a 1939 harvester that literally hasn't run since the Nixon administration.
And just, drive it down the coast.
Exactly. The logistics of this move are incredibly delicate. We are talking about an object that has suffered decades of decay.
Right. It's been sitting in the damp Pacific Northwest since 1969.
So the structural integrity is severely compromised. Moving it required meticulous planning, It had to be carefully extracted from the barn, stabilized, and then loaded onto a commercial flatbed truck.
Which just paints such a surreal picture for me.
Oh, completely.
Like, imagine you're just driving down the I-5 freeway, minding your own business, and you look over to see further this neon psychedelic icon just strapped to a flatbed cruising past you.
It's wild. And the
Yeah.
journey culminates in this moment that feels almost, I don't know, poetic in its irony.
Yeah.
Because this vehicle, which was originally designed to be a giant megaphone of color like the loudest, most disruptive thing on the road, it makes its return to San Francisco by sneaking over the Bay Bridge in the dead of night.
Oh, that is so ironic. I love that visual. This loud neon bus just quietly sneaking back into the city under the cover of darkness.
It's a very stealthy return for an artifact so famous for its noise.
But that quiet entrance leads to a very, very public reemergence.
It does. The final destination is the Hall of Flowers in San Francisco's Golden Gate Park.
Oh, perfect location.
Right. And starting September 5th, the bus becomes the centerpiece of this massive 6-week exhibition dedicated to the Grateful Dead and the whole 60s counterculture scene.
And they're going to have other artifacts there too, right?
Yeah, it'll be showcased alongside some other legendary items, including a car that was owned by Jerry Garcia.
Man, that exhibition is going to be an absolute magnet for anyone connected to that era, or even just people fascinated by it.
Oh, absolutely. To be in the physical presence of that much history is really rare.
It is. But there is a crucial detail about this specific 6-week window that we really need to highlight, because it fundamentally changes how you have to look at this bus when you go see it.
Right, the restoration.
Yes. This exhibition in the fall is the absolute last time the public will ever be able to see further in its raw form.
Because right after the show wraps up, the bus is scheduled for a comprehensive restoration.
Exactly. And I got to push back on that a little bit, or at least play devil's advocate.
Okay, go for it.
Because doesn't restoring it kind of ruin the magic?
Well, it's a big debate.
Right, because when we talk about seeing something in its raw form, we're talking about unvarnished authenticity. This bus has lived a brutal, incredible life.
It really has.
It carried the merry pranksters, it hosted these profound cultural shifts, and then it sat in a damp barn enduring decades of changing seasons. Its decrepit state, the rust, the peeling paint, the water damage, that's the literal map of its survival.
That's a great way to put it. A map of survival.
Yeah. So if you strip away that rust and apply a fresh coat of paint, aren't you kind of erasing the true story? Erasing the very history people are coming to see?
That is the eternal tension in the world of historical preservation. Does restoring an artifact to look brand new turn it into, like, a replica of itself?
Right. It feels like it might.
But on the other side of the argument, you have to look at the practical reality of materials.
Okay, fair.
If you want a 1939 vehicle, heavily modified in the 60s and rusted since 1969 to survive for another century, you have to stabilize it.
You literally just have to stop it from falling apart.
Exactly. You have to halt the oxidation, repair the rotting floorboards, reinforce the structural framing. From that perspective, restoration is simply an act of saving the object from inevitable collapse.
I hear that. I really do. But still, when you look at further right now, in its raw state, I mean, every scratch and patch of rust is a timeline.
Oh, I totally agree. The decay is part of the provenance.
Exactly. Seeing it raw connects the viewer viscerally to the passage of time. There's no filter, no modern restoration team interpreting what the colors used to look like.
You're standing face to face with an object that has weathered the exact same 60 years of history that the country has.
It's the physical manifestation of time passing. A fresh coat of paint might make it look like 1964 again, but the rust proves that it actually survived until today.
Which is exactly why this 6-week exhibition at the Hall of Flowers is so incredibly critical for anyone who can go see it.
It really is a fleeting window.
It is, because for anyone walking into that room, you aren't looking at a polished, sanitized version of the past. You are getting the unfiltered reality of history with all of its scars intact.
Just out there for everyone to see.
Right. It's a rare chance to see the artifact exactly as Zane Kesey found it in the dark, right at the moment he decided it's time to bring its color back into the world.
It elevates the whole exhibition, I think, from just a simple nostalgia trip into something much more urgent. You're catching this historical artifact at the exact pivot point between its long decay and its future preservation.
It's a beautiful way to frame it.
So if we step back and trace the arc of what we've unpacked for you today, it's just a remarkable timeline.
It really is an incredible journey.
We start with Ken Kesey taking a standard piece of machinery, a 1939 harvester, and physically mutating it into a psychedelic beacon that helped drive a new, mind-opening culture across the American landscape.
And then we followed that beacon as it went dark, right? Retreating into a quiet Oregon barn at the end of the 1960s, where it basically slept for decades while the world outside grew increasingly fractured and complex.
And then comes that profound burden of legacy. Zane Kesey, inheriting not just a bus, but a symbol.
A heavy symbol.
Very heavy. A son looking at the deep polarization and loneliness of modern society, and deciding that the most powerful thing he could do was follow through on his father's mission.
He recognized that a rusty, decaying relic of the past could actually serve as an active intervention for the present.
A reminder of the joy in community that so many people feel is missing right now.
Which led to its silent midnight journey back to San Francisco. A stealthy return that offers you one last chance to witness this Rosetta Stone of counterculture in its beautifully raw, scarred, and unfiltered state.
Right before the restorative hands of the future smooth over the physical evidence of its long, strange trip.
It's such an incredible narrative about how we choose to carry the weight of the things handed down to us.
It forces you to look at the artifacts of your own life a little differently, doesn't it?
It really does. It makes you wonder about the things we all leave behind. I mean, Zane Kesey realized that the dusty, forgotten object sitting in his family's barn was exactly what a dim and dark society needed.
Right.
So it leaves you with this thought. What seemingly forgotten ideas, or physical objects, or even family traditions from our own past are sitting in a metaphorical barn right now?
Oh, I love that question.
Yeah. What is waiting in the dark? Just hoping for someone brave enough to dust it off, bring it out into the light, and use it to foster a little more connection in our modern lives.
That is a phenomenal, provocative question to leave lingering in the air for everyone listening.
It's something to chew on for sure.
Thank you so much for joining us today to explore the complex mechanics of legacy, culture, and, well, a very famous bus. We always appreciate you lending us your time and your curiosity.
Keep asking questions and definitely keep looking for the color in the world.
Until next time, we'll see you on the next Deep Dive.
Please click like and then subscribe. Also share this video with your friends. Thank you.